Welcome to the Culture Edit. Unique perspectives into the personal and professional lives of individuals at the helm of successful business, athletics, art, and design. Welcome to the Culture Edit, episode 84. It is Tuesday afternoon. We're cutting this one close, so we'll have to do some quick turnaround editing, but we've both been very busy with client work, and I feel like we had a busy weekend too. We've been trying not to record on the weekends if we can, just to give ourselves a little bit of a mental break. So here we are.
Have you ever read 1984?
No.
Are you familiar with that though?
Yes.
Orson Welles?
Yeah.
Okay. It's about dystopia future. I don't know. Sometimes it kind of feels like talking about today. Well, it's supposed to be 1984.
Wait, hold on. You've lost me. So welcome to the Culture Edit. Chad just went on a tangent. I have no idea what he's talking about.
It's April Fool's. You didn't mention that part.
Wait, does that have to do with Orson Welles?
No, nothing to do with that.
Oh.
It's just episode 84, so I thought about 1984.
Oh, okay. I was struggling to draw the connection.
So I wanted to do an April Fool's prank on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I woke up and was like, yes, we're recording on April Fool's. Mm-hmm. Let's do a prank.
Yeah.
And you were like, what? And I was like, well, we could tell everyone that we're pregnant and that we're moving to South Georgia to start a guanaco farm. And you said no.
Well, I said, why don't you make up your own April Fools that only impacts you?
But that would be really good. I mean, you would be the one getting a million DMs. So.
I know. That's why I didn't want to do it.
That's not why you said you didn't want to do it.
One of the reasons. I don't like, well, it's a couple things. I hate April Fool's Day.
Yeah, so explain this.
That's the first thing, which I'll explain. And the second thing is I don't like pregnancy jokes. I don't like people joking about being pregnant. I don't like people joking about not being able to get pregnant or being able to, like, because there's sensitivities out there.
Wait, is that a thing? Are there pregnancy jokes? I didn't know there were pregnancy jokes.
Not jokes, but like, I don't want it to be like, I don't know. Everyone's like sensitive about these things. So I don't want to be like, make it into a joke and someone's like really struggling to get pregnant or something. And then like it makes them sad. I just don't want to make anyone sad. So that's why I didn't want to do any like pregnancy jokes. Because I feel like.
Well, you didn't want to do any jokes.
And I don't want to do any jokes. But the first reason I don't like April Fools is because I don't like pranks. I never have. I don't like it. It feels uncomfortable to me.
Pranks.
Like I don't get enjoyment out of lying.
Tricking people.
Or tricking
and
people.
And laughing at them.
Even if it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Even if it's April Fool's and it's just a joke, I just don't get enjoyment out of making up a lie to try and fool someone. I don't like that.
But you get enjoyment and great pleasure out of watching people fall down.
Well, that's physical pain, yes. I think it is funny when people, not like getting seriously hurt, but like when there's like a video of like a person that like trips over their cat and then it leads to all this like, and then like knocks over the table and like obviously no one got hurt, no one died. For I think like slapstick comedy, because it's not a lie, it's like a truth.
Like Kramer and Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's like a truth of what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like the Three Stooges, the slapstick comedy.
Okay.
I enjoy that type of comedic relief. I don't enjoy deception. I don't like it.
Imagine how funny that could have been, though. Like, we could have gone a whole week before we told people April Fool's. Or we could have just waited until the end of the episode. No, because
I would have gotten so many messages, and it would have been so annoying, and I would have had to constantly lie. And that's the thing about April Fool's. If you're going to keep it going, you have to like lie and lie and lie and like to perpetuate the lie that you made up. I don't like it.
Yeah, I guess you got to tell everyone that day, so we'd have to do like at the end of the episode we could have. But anyway, so happy April Fool's, everyone.
Yeah.
You said you haven't even like seen anything, or I was thinking I used to be in a work environment where there were a lot of April Fool's jokes, like pranks. I think that's what I think about because it was fun. I don't
really remember. I mean, haven't worked for that long in a corporate setting.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember any like big April Fool's jokes at work.
So last week we mentioned we were headed out of town and we said we'd tell people what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So now we can. We couldn't talk about it then, but now we can.
Yeah, so we had the privilege of being invited to what do you want to call it? So Lifetime, which everyone knows Lifetime Fitness, they are expanding into this massive ecosystem of health and wellness. So supplements, residences, obviously health clubs, and then also events. If you have never been to a Lifetime event, or maybe you don't even know you've been to one, but they put on a lot of the big running races and cycling races. They're buying up other races constantly. So they're starting a new race in Anniston, Alabama. It's a mountain bike race and a trail running race. So they invited us to come preview the course and essentially, kind of give feedback and give help with PR to promote the race. And I have to say, I thought it was, Anniston still has a lot of development that it needs to be done before Anniston truly is a place, like a destination. Redevelopment.
Yep.
But the trails were so nice that I actually would rather drive an hour and a half to run on those trails than go up to the mountains and run on the trails because, the mountains is prettier, but it's so much more technical. But anyways, what did you think about it? Because you mountain biked and I ran.
Yeah, so shout out to former guest of the pod, Micah Rice, for arranging that for us and meeting us there with the team and riding. We did 2 days of mountain bike riding. The first day we met with the local club, the local Northeast Alabama Mountain Bike Association.
Yeah,
NEMBA.
They were so nice.
Everyone there was so incredibly
nice. So nice.
And so what I found out is that every Monday night, this group of guys and gals gets together and they ride their mountain bikes. Most of them on mountain bikes every Monday night. But then they also get right afterwards. The reason they're there, they told me the reason we're here is not to ride. It's the after, which is grilling and drinking a few beers.
Yeah.
And so we got to hang out with them afterwards at the Coldwater Brewery. By the way, it's the Coldwater Trails is what we're talking about. So everyone was just so nice. The trails, I came out of retirement for this event.
Mountain bike retirement.
I hadn't mountain biked in 20 years. Started off 25 years. Yeah, 20 years. Started off riding mountain bikes, racing mountain bikes, and then just quit after I started riding on the road 20 years ago. So the jump in technology on the bikes is tremendous. It actually is a lot safer now. You don't crash as much because the bikes can do so much. But I was terrified of crashing the whole time. Luckily, Marcos, a friend of the pod, took me to Blankets Creek the day before. So I wasn't riding the mountain bike for the first time ever with this group.
How happy are you that I didn't ride mountain bikes? Because you wanted me to at first, and I've never ridden a mountain bike. Yeah. And you're well, we'll just get you one there.
Yeah, it would have been a challenge.
Stressful.
I'm stressed. I'm stressed of crashing pretty much the whole time. And everyone was on e-bikes except for me and Michael and Micah.
Yeah.
So, we're going pretty fast. And they're just so incredibly skilled with those e-bikes. They ride the e-bikes like they're basically mountain. I
guess it's once you learn those trails though over and over and over, then it's like a flow. You get into you know exactly what's happening. But you all were you hadn't ridden the trails, so it's something new.
They have the trails completely memorized. They know where the stumps are, where the rocks are, where the jumps, everything. A lot of so the next day, Michael and I rode a much longer. It was 3 and something hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a new trail, which was awesome. And then we came back to a more technical one, which I was terrified on. But a lot of jumps. I didn't tell you that part.
Oh, really?
A lot of jumps.
So you were catching air?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I chose not to jump.
Oh, I see.
So basically.
Did Michael?
Oh, there's Michael jumps when there's no jumps.
That's
what are you
true.
talking
That's
about?
A good point.
There was a time where.
Did Micah?
Yeah, Michael's jumping.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's you do. It's you're going down it I know no one can see me, but it's
I know what you're saying.
Up and down like a roller coaster, and so you can start to get where you can jump them. So you can choose not to. You can push your bike down.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But the amount of work they have put into these trails is incredible. It reminded me of Bentonville.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, but it's in Anniston, which will be there in a couple of days. We'll be right back.
Yeah, for Sunny King Criterium.
Sunny King Criterium, the first big crit of the season.
We're not racing. We're going to cheer Michael on.
Yeah. And see all our friends.
Yeah.
From Anniston.
Well, what's cool is they have the clubhouse.
Yeah.
The NEBA clubhouse. NEMBA. And it's really nice.
Yeah,
I guess they bought this old building was essentially at a certain point gifted to them.
Yep.
from the city or from some
It was
sort
a
of
private thing.
It was like
yeah.
a private thing, but
Yeah.
somehow it was built in a historical building that was falling apart, and they through 100% volunteer work completely rejuvenated it.
Yeah.
I feel like most of these people must be retired
100%.
because there's a lot of time going into this, but it was impressive.
I mean, we were there on a Monday and Tuesday, and like we can just go there, and they were there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But talk about living the life. I mean, they're having fun. And yeah, but it was a really, really cool facility.
And so everyone knows Anniston is an hour and a half drive from Atlanta, so it's close.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I've talked to since then that were so shocked by seeing me ride mountain bikes, they're like, "Oh, I didn't really even think about those trails," and they go north all the time.
They're super nice.
So to your point, you can ride to Anniston in the same amount of time you can drive to Dahlonega.
Yeah.
And do some pretty awesome trails. So the event will be in October.
October 24th?
25th and 26th. I think.
Okay. Okay.
Running and it's a qualifier for the Leadville 100.
For running and riding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only qualifier on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So it's going to be popular.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I was the only non-professional trail runner there, so that was...
Yeah, but you kept up. You
It was-
destroyed yourself to
I
keep
just
up.
couldn't walk the next day.
What was it? Y'all started by saying we're going to do a what minute pace?
Well, first of all, it was majority women. So let me just preface with that because all women that run or ride bikes know that when a group of women get together and say, we're going to keep it a slower, steady pace, they are, especially professionals or pseudo-professionals, they're full of shit. Okay, so I already knew that we were starting off on the wrong foot because we should have just started off running and not talking about it. Because then but as soon as you say, okay, everyone, we're gonna go a chill pace, I know you're lying.
Well, and I could hear y'all talking. I could hear the excuse spam.
The excuse
flowing
spam was
too.
building up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sore. Well, I've just did a block of 100 miles, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm like, I don't even want to say my excuse because I'm not only not a professional, but I've literally haven't ran in 2 months. So I was like, I'm just going to not talk to anyone and just try and run.
I just got done with blood infusions.
Keep
What if you
up.
just said that?
So I didn't say anything because I didn't want to, I don't like contributing to the excuse spam.
Yeah.
So these girls take off and like right out of the gate, we're
Like red line?
It was like it was basically an 8 to 9 minute mile for 6.5 miles. It took us about an hour, which if you know, like that doesn't sound fast on the road because people are like, oh, that'd be really slow. But on trails, and
fast.
it was like 1,000 feet of climbing. That's really fast.
And y'all said y'all were going to do a what pace?
A 12-minute mile.
12 minutes.
So they're like, oh, we're going to do a 12-minute mile pace, which is like slow.
Yeah.
And none of us knew the trails because none of us were from there. And immediately they just take off like a horse out of the barn that hasn't been let out to the pasture in forever. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was fun, but
You were dead when you finished.
It always reaffirms my take on getting a bunch of women together to try and run casually together. It's not possible.
No comment.
It's not possible. I've never
That's, I mean, you run with Lizzie and the girls in Miami and y'all don't.
Yeah, but we're friends. I'm saying like women who none of us knew each other.
Oh, okay.
So like you take a group of type A women that all race professionally, except for me. None of them know each other other than they recognize each other's names on results because we were from all different parts of the country. So no one was from the same area. And a lot of them like didn't race. There's so many obscure, and when I say obscure, I learned about more obscure things from these women than I'm just like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay. You yeah. And so when you have those dynamics, there's just like a natural competitiveness and it just.
Do you think they thought you were a professional runner? Were they surprised that you were there?
I don't know. I don't know.
You're like, hey.
I never asked. I wasn't like, do you think I'm a professional? But they definitely kept looking back, and when they'd turn around and I was still with their group, because we dropped like half the group because there was guys with us too. We dropped the guys, except for one guy, and so they definitely were. I don't want to say surprised because they didn't know me. So
yeah, but they're just looking to say it. It's like when Michael or Brock looks back at the end of airport and me and Alan are still there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they were super nice. Everyone was really, really nice. It was just funny because I was like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew we were all just going to half wheel each other into oblivion on the trails.
That's part of it.
Yeah. So my average heart rate for an hour was 170.
170 for an hour.
Yeah, it was a good time trial.
Yeah, that's like a crit or a time trial. Yeah.
So it was fun though. It was a good weekend.
Good. It'll be a good event.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely go in October.
For sure.
So thanks Lifetime for inviting us. And if you want to invite us to other things, we're
happy to show
we're
up.
open.
Yeah.
Did you see that George Foreman died?
No.
Yeah, I thought that might be news to you.
Oh.
I know that's really means a lot because you're one of his appliances' biggest fans.
Yeah. Huh.
Nikki loves appliances, kitchen appliances.
Probably my first appliance ever was a George Foreman in college.
Yeah.
It's where the appliance addiction started, and it just hasn't stopped from there.
Run us through your all the appliances you've had for the audience. I'm curious if you can name them all without me.
I mean, I feel like if I list them off, it probably won't sound that impressive. But
really,
well, because I've kind of stopped buying appliances. I would say it was more like right when I graduated college.
Yep.
That I was really into, because you have to understand, I lived in a sorority house for 4 years or 3.5 years. So we couldn't have appliances because we had a full kitchen in the sorority house with people that cooked for us. So it wasn't like you could have your own appliances. So I was always really jealous of my friends that lived in apartments that had appliances, because I just wanted to be able to have this cool smoothie maker, but I had to go downstairs and ask for the blender to,
Right.
Anyway, so
obviously blenders,
blenders,
lots of blenders,
juicers, grillers, dehydrators, a lot of air fryers. One air fryer exploded.
Well, it didn't explode. It caught on fire.
Yeah.
And you picked it up you were going to throw it off the balcony. Is that right?
I did throw it off the balcony.
Oh.
Oh, no, wait. Actually, I picked it up, and while I was holding it, while it was on fire, you sprayed me with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And the powder was all over me and all over the house.
How quickly could I grab that fire extinguisher? That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Except I feel like if I get cancer at some point, I'm going to blame that situation. So, yeah, what else? I don't know. I
the
didn't have that
dehydrator.
many.
Yeah, I guess the dehydrator is the one I think about because it was so much stuff everywhere.
Well, I thought I was going to dehydrate fruit to make trail mixes and homemade granolas and homemade beef jerkies, that type of thing. But it didn't really work that well is the problem.
No.
But most of those appliances are now gone. I don't have the majority of them anymore. My blender crapped out a year ago, so I don't even have a blender at this point.
Do you still have your George Foreman?
I do.
But I think it's a new one though.
I don't. Yeah, it is. It's not the original George Foreman. It's a new one because what I press our sandwiches with.
Right. Do you know why George Foreman was famous?
Because he was a boxer.
Okay.
Yeah. And he wanted to grill his lean chicken, so he made a mini grill so he could grill.
So and it was slanted so all the fat
juices.
But that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense these days now, does it?
Well, it does if you don't want greasy food.
That you just don't want the fat. But then it doesn't taste very good.
Well, with the chicken, if it's a lean chicken breast, it's not necessarily fat. You're just losing the moisture, but because a lot of it's water.
I wonder how much money he made off that over the years.
A lot.
Had to be a lot.
Well, that's really depressing.
Did you ever see the Ashton Hall thing I told you about?
No.
The influencer guy that dunks his head in Saratoga water?
No, what?
I told you about this.
I don't have time.
There's a guy.
To look at all the crazy videos you send me.
It has broken the internet. This guy in Miami who's a fitness coach.
Yeah.
He's we know these guys. He's like a coach of a coach. He coaches people, business people.
I think I saw spoofs of this.
100%.
Okay, I think
100%.
I know now. Okay, so keep going because I didn't know where it originated. I just saw these random things.
So he wakes up. It's through his daily routine.
Yeah.
So he wakes up. He's got mouth tape on. He rips the mouth tape off. He washes his face.
Who can actually sleep with that? Because I tried, and I felt like I was suffocating. But I get a really stuffy nose in the middle of the night, so.
That's true. But the thing is, his signature move is that he takes Saratoga bottled water, in the blue glass.
Yeah.
And he pours it into a bowl with ice, and he dunks his face into it.
And it has to be Saratoga.
And Saratoga plays a role throughout all of his videos. He goes and he does push-ups on the balcony. He lives in Brickell. And he does push-ups on the balcony, and there's a Saratoga bottle there, and he'll go, and from there he'll go and run like wind sprints, and like someone's like filming him the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's got like Saratoga. So anyway, everyone was like very interested if Saratoga Water was like sponsoring this, but apparently they've never acknowledged any of it.
Weird.
Nothing. Like they've
Maybe
never,
he was hoping to get a sponsorship out of it.
Maybe. It's like the weirdest thing.
Wasn't it like he put the times on the screen? The
Yeah,
times
yeah,
were
yeah.
like unrealistic. It
Yes.
was like 401, 402, 403, 404. And it was like only a few minutes between each thing that he was doing.
Well,
Which
no,
was, like, going
actually
too fast?
the times would be pretty big.
Oh.
It's the opposite because basically he's gone through his whole day and he hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Like that was it. Like it's like 9:30 and he's taking his second shower and rubbing banana peels on his face.
Yeah.
And like everyone's like, when is it? And they like will open up a laptop for like 2 seconds and then close it.
That's like every female influencer that I follow. They're like, here's the day of my life. And then it's literally like working out till, it's like wake up at 9 a.m.
But they
work
have-
out till noon.
They have rich husbands though.
But how do you know he doesn't have rich parents?
That could be it.
Or a rich wife? Or a rich husband? Let's not,
I guess
gotta
so.
include everyone.
I guess so. But yeah, he's a.
I know a lot of
He's a
people
life coach.
that live in Brickell that have rich parents.
Well, we see that when we're down there. Like, what do these
I
people
think
do?
of one person specifically who we met on the bike. And he basically was like, yeah, I couldn't live this way if my parents didn't pay for everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's nice. I mean,
Anyway.
yeah, don't hate the game.
Yeah. What do you think about the eye jacket, Oakley eye jacket comeback?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I want to tell you why I asked this, because it's so bad that Matteo Jorgensen wore these glasses in a race this past weekend.
Weird.
Yeah. So Oakley eye jackets are a remnant of. I remember them, and
They look like alien glasses.
Michael just asked me about them too.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about this. I'm worried about.
Wait, Michael wants to buy them?
I don't think he doesn't. He
No.
can't buy them because he's sponsored by
his head's
Coup.
too big.
He's sponsored by Coup, so he
Like
can't.
his face is too wide.
But I'm worried about kids. Like it's everywhere now. These eye jackets, which then could lead to the most hideous glasses ever, except worn by George Hincapie, the Oakley racing jacket.
Well, and Geraint Thomas.
He didn't look cool in them. That's my point.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone looks terrible in
But I'm
them.
saying, like, do you know that my number one pet peeve of watching Geraint Thomas race throughout the years is his ugly glasses?
Yeah, I mean, that's
I hate
everyone that
them.
wore them.
Yeah.
But he's trying to be like George Hincapie. George Hincapie is the only one that could pull them off.
Well, that's because George Hincapie's attractive.
He looked cool in them,
Yeah.
and that made him cool.
Yeah,
so.
Geraint Thomas is less than attractive.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just curious what you thought about them, because I didn't know whether I was going to ask you, because I wasn't sure whether you might be like, "Ooh, that's kind of interesting on the trend."
Yeah, so I saw these glasses, and there's a lot of other like copycat brands that are making the same glasses. Like I just thought they were like alien glasses. I didn't think they were like, I didn't know where they were derived from.
You didn't know they were Oakley and that
Yeah.
they were a remake of a 90s glass.
So I will say, even though I would not wear them,
Here we go.
I follow this girl. I believe she lives in Berlin. No, I know she lives in Berlin. And she's interesting to me because what she does is on her TikTok, she matches her Dalmatian to her outfits every day. But she has pretty creative outfits. Like I wouldn't wear anything she wears, but I enjoy watching her do the like.
How do you match your Dalmatian to your outfit?
I'm gonna have to send it to you all.
Okay.
Because it's actually really good. Like I enjoy her creativity with
like
these videos.
the Dalmatians wearing clothes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Clothes or like thing. It's hard to
Accessories.
you have to like see it.
Okay.
But she does such a good job with these videos creatively. Like they're just so like engaging or interesting to me. But she actually had those glasses on the other day, and I was like, those are weird, really ugly glasses. But with her though, she looks cool because she's like, that's her style, is like a weird, eclectic, artsy style.
There, I mean, Adam, former guest of the show, Adam Katzending, probably listening. He's been wearing them.
Oh God.
You've got, and so you're seeing professional cyclists start to wear them, and then you saw like they're like featured in Bandit commercials, everything. So I'm really concerned about this trend because I hated it in the 90s.
Yeah.
And what concerns me is that everyone references the fact that Michael Jordan used to wear them. Mm-hmm. So now that's what everyone's like, ooh, MJ used to wear them. So
yeah.
let's hope not. We don't need to go back
If you're
in
an
time.
icon, you can wear whatever you want. But the problem is that we're going to start seeing gaggles of college girls walking down the Beltline, and they're all going to have the alien glasses on with their like,
You think in Atlanta?
at some point, like 10 years from now, because like everything is 10 years behind in Atlanta. So, and then we'll start, and then it'll transition into even more depressing scenario where like all of a sudden you're sitting in a public park and you look over and every like middle-aged mom has a pair of Sambas on and the alien glasses. And you're like, oh, now we really have an issue.
I know you're really upset about the Samba.
I'm upset about the Samba because I had the Sambas in 2019.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to, like, I hate that we keep saying moms because there's cool moms out there. But
shout out to Kaylin.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's like the moms that the outfits don't match the shoes.
So, and it's like stay in your lane.
Yeah, they found one trend and they got targeted on Instagram or Facebook, and then they just picked that one trend, but they didn't update the rest of their wardrobe and style to match the style. That's not their style, is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, so no eye jackets for you.
That's no good. Eye jackets for me. What about you? You want eye jackets?
0.
Okay.
Okay, do we want to talk about some shows?
I think so.
What we're doing here, folks, is if you notice, now that we're back in season, we've got guest episode, then one-on-one. So things build up.
Yeah.
For the one-on-ones, we got a long list, and we're trying to make sure that we
trying to get through it.
Touch the things that we need to touch within our slotted hour on the air.
Yeah. And I mean, we've watched some good shows where we've finished some good shows and started some good shows recently. So Chad, you being the big fan of Severance, why don't you tell us how you feel about Severance?
Well, before we talk about Severance, because I we'll probably go deep on that, you wanted to talk about the studio. You thought the studio was worthy?
Studio?
Maybe not. The studio is the one with what's his name that talks like a Muppet. That guy.
Them jeans.
No, like, why am I blanking on his name? He's a executive with Sony Pictures.
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen, I knew it.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Doesn't he talk like a Muppet? He's like,
I mean, I never thought about that, but I guess so. Yeah, I actually really like. I mean, we've only watched one episode, but
we watched 2 episodes.
Oh, was it 2 episodes?
Yeah. Apparently, that second episode, everyone's talking about how amazing it is because
it's the one shot.
It was the one shot, which is a theme right now. But also, I didn't realize that director is actually a really famous director, and the other actors that were playing in it were actually they were playing themselves.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So the woman is the famous director.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, we just started watching it, but I really like Seth Rogen. I think he's hilarious. I've always liked Seth Rogen.
He's very divisive. Like, people either like him or do not like him.
Really? Huh.
I mean, I'm neutral on him.
I guess because he could be that, like, annoying personality where, like, the comedy is kind of stupid comedy, or, like, it's not necessarily a clever comedy. It's more of, like, him and the way he acts and the way he talks and the way he says delivers things is what makes it funny.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. But I like him. I thought it was good. I definitely recommend it if you want like a good, like we were just talking about how there was no comedies.
Right. That's
anymore.
why I want to bring it up.
Yeah. And the studio, it's a good comedy.
It is a comedy that you can actually laugh at.
Yeah. And, you laugh too. And you don't laugh at anything.
I did. Yeah, that's true.
You're against laughing.
I laugh at April Fool's pranks.
You're the anti-laugher.
Okay. So then let's talk about Severance. We mentioned it in the last one-on-one 2 weeks ago. We have completed it. We finished it just like the rest of America. Second season. What is your initial, or now you've had a lot of time to think about it. What are your thoughts?
Did we just finish the second season?
Yes, that was the end of second season.
I mean, I never really liked it the whole time. I don't. It's fine. It's not something that I'm gonna like go back and rewatch ever again.
So it's not as great of a show as you think it's getting hyped up for.
I think
because it's slow.
I think it's an interesting show. I think that the writing is interesting. I think the concept is interesting. I think if you want to go off into the metaphorical universe and blow people's minds or try to deliver some sort of subliminal messaging, it did that.
Yep.
I think that to me the theme was almost, I guess I was like confused as to why people's minds were so blown by it, because it didn't seem that revolutionary to me.
I mean, I think the idea, and so if you haven't watched it, long story short, a evil corporation named Lumen creates a medical procedure by which their employees get implanted in their brain a device that allows them to basically not remember anything they do at work.
Yeah.
So when they go to work, they go through the elevator and they open their eyes and they're a new person.
Yeah.
But it's like they're the same person, but they're not.
They're just not connected to their
outie
don't know life.
They don't know anything about their outside life, which they call their outie.
Yeah.
And they're the innie. And so I think the concept, I mean, mainly because we study a lot of workplace culture and social interactions. It's so sound in how I think so many people engage with work.
Yeah.
Like they are just there to punch the widget. Like, and that's what they're doing. They're just like punching these widgets.
Yeah, literally.
And they become a different person than they are outside of work.
Yeah.
Like, and that's been going on. That's a old concept.
I mean, you used to be work Chad and fun Chad.
That's why I was wondering if you were going to say that.
Yeah.
So it's an old concept where people are like a different person at work.
You were a completely different person at work. It was weird.
Not at work.
Well, that's what I mean, like inside, outside of work.
But the kind of mind-blowing concept, though, is that since they don't know each other at all, that does the any work version, so Mark S., is he a separate soul?
Yeah.
I think that's what the question is. Like, is he because they can easily just say, well, the outie has quit, and so the any never exists again.
Yeah.
It's like gone. And like you see like this conundrum comes up multiple times over the course of the season where people leave and they treat them as though they've died.
I mean, to me, it was like the entire time everyone was just having an existential crisis.
Yeah.
So it really stressed me out to watch it because it was just like constant existential crisis.
A lot of stress.
So I think that's why I didn't enjoy it. Like, I don't want to add more stress to my life via a show.
But there are also so many great analogies to how I think historically how corporations used to treat people.
Yeah.
And how they communicate.
Command and control. You have no choice.
Yeah. And it's like a blown up version of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar to, I mean, when I first started in the work world, working for a company, and I can say it because it doesn't exist anymore, called Celotex, which was a subsidiary of Jim Walter Corp. And it was very similar to that. Like it was like the communication came from a faceless, nameless entity, and and it felt like the celebrations were like that. Like oh, like you guys have worked so hard. We're gonna have a Sunday cart.
Yeah.
And they'd like put on music, and
now it's a happy hour cart.
Yeah, now it's a happy hour cart. Or no, now it's just
no. I think as metaphors go, I think it was a direct metaphor for the way corporate America operates in regards to employees and the way employees operate in regards to corporate America. But to me, that's just like maybe it's because we're in it all the time. To me, it feels like such an overdone theme that I was like, yeah, it's creative and smart, but also like just such an overdone theme to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think us being in it is different.
But maybe other people that don't work in this world, like they're like, oh my gosh,
definitely. Yeah. Like they're like, or they're like looking at like, ha ha ha, that could never happen.
Yeah, it could.
When
be.
In reality was like
But you really liked the ending. I hated the ending.
I thought the season finale was fantastic.
I hated it. I literally worst season finale ever.
And it also was a theme. I think it's a theme of labor movement. Like, I think it's a condensed version of kind of what's happened in America with, and when I say labor, I'm talking about workers.
Yeah.
It's workers rebelling is really what they're doing. And then that's what's they're going into the future with.
Yeah.
Like season 3 will be all about that. I also just really like the manager, Melchuk.
Yeah, you like him.
I like him. So, I'd recommend it. Nikki doesn't, so that's a mixed
I
review.
recommend it. It just depends on what you're into. Like, we only watch TV 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
And it's at night for 1 hour right before we go to sleep. And so for me, I would prefer to watch something uplifting, upbeat, and funny. And you choose
Well, as we talked about in the last
the
episode,
serious, depressing, stressful
there
stuff.
isn't any uplifting,
I
funny
know,
stuff.
it drives me crazy.
Except for the studio now.
Even what we're watching now, Adolescence.
Well, on that note, you want to talk about Adolescence?
Which I'm just so disturbed by it. And I think what disturbs me the most is that it's actual reality of what's happening in the world. Like Severance is like still a made up world.
Severance is like sci-fi.
Yeah, it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
And I normally like sci-fi, but I like quick moving sci-fi.
Yeah.
This was very slow.
So Adolescence is a show. It's a 4-episode show on Netflix.
Yes.
It's their number one show right now.
It's based in the UK.
Yeah. Try to get over that part, but yeah.
Yeah.
Put on your captions.
I can understand them fine. Yeah, it's disturbing. It's really disturbing.
They say words that when we have the captions on that I've never even seen before.
Really? Oh, well, I guess
like slang words and stuff.
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
So do you want to talk about what it is?
I mean, it's just a direct. It's about how young boys are becoming incels and.
Well, this is just one 13-year-old boy that murders a girl.
Correct, but
a classmate.
But the whole show is about how this is like happening to more than just one boy. But the show is about this one boy in the UK who murders a girl. That's not ruining anything, like that right off the bat. So
no, that's in the description.
We're not telling you anything that you wouldn't like. That's ruining it. But it is, it's really disturbing.
I mean, the subject matter is disturbing. I'll say the show is really, 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 really good.
It's really good.
It's shot in a one-shot format.
Yeah.
So
single shot.
So from the very opening scene to the end, there's no cuts. There's no edits. It's like watching a play.
Yeah.
But a very serious and dramatic show that pulls it off with teenagers.
It is crazy.
Like
the young man who is the star of the show.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is in real life, but he plays a 13-year-old, so I'm assuming he's not much older than that. Could even be younger than that.
Yeah.
He is probably one of the most incredible actors I've ever. I mean, it is crazy. He's either severely disturbed, like in real life, and he's just playing himself.
Yeah.
Or he's just that amazing. But kids tend to be amazing actors because they don't have the fear of judgment and all that stuff. So they kind of just like let it rip, and then it turns out really good.
Yeah. We watched episode 3, which is what a lot of people are talking about because it's just him.
Yeah.
It's him and a counselor, but he, within that hour, goes on a journey, like a emotional journey.
Yeah.
That he, like a person in real life couldn't even like pull off. Like
Yeah.
it's so incredible to watch him do that. I mean, you kind of forget that you're watching a show.
Yeah.
But he blew my mind with that.
Yeah, it's really good.
We still have one episode left. But it's a topic that you and I talk about a lot. And I know we've talked about it before, but just what's happening to young men in the world today as a result of the impact of social media, dating apps,
video games,
and attack on masculinity, like it's all of these things that have led to a crisis with young boys.
And the switch in power dynamics between men and women, and it's not because I think a lot of it's just economics, like because in the Diary of a CEO podcast I was listening today with Scott Galloway, and then there's this other woman who is a psychiatrist, but she also works at Hinge, which is weird. But she studies, like, she's also a dating coach. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It was a good episode, but they're talking about this topic the whole time because she's talking about all the trends she sees working at Hinge and then also being a dating coach for men and women. And I didn't know this, but women in major cities before they have a child actually tend to make, usually up till 30, tend to make more money than men their own age.
18 to 30-year-old women are now making more money than
men in big cities.
Yeah.
Like New York and stuff. So there's that, but then
it's never happened in history before.
But as soon as they have a kid, it completely drops.
Yeah.
There's no empathy or forgiveness for having a child.
Yeah.
Like it is like you've had a child, you're now in the gutter. And so that's very unfortunate. But I think it's hard because part of it's like, okay, so a lot of I hear, and not Scott Galloway, but I hear other men on social media that are more of like the polarizing, like what I would consider toxic masculinity, where they're just like, women need to stay at home, they need to know their place, like all of this. And I don't think that's fair to say, because we don't live in a society where most people can afford to have someone just stay at home.
Yeah.
Like the majority of people in America and around the world now have to have dual incomes in order to provide for their children. So it used to be that like, yeah, just the man could work and he could provide. I mean, you might not live in a fancy house, but you could definitely keep food on the table for your wife and your kids. That's not that easy to do anymore unless you are in the top, maybe let's say 5% of the class system in America.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, yeah, sure, women could, there is a trad wife movement. Like we've all seen it on social media where women want to be traditional in their role, in their gender role in the marriage.
Yeah, they don't want to.
They don't want to work.
Have to do the corporate.
But
career
the
thing,
funny thing is, I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day, and she is young. She's in her early or mid 20s, and she was talking about how when she gets married, she doesn't want to work. And I was like, and she, and I have no judgment towards that, because I think just do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But she was saying that when she was talking about it with her boyfriend, he was like, well, absolutely not. Like, I will not marry a woman who doesn't want to work. And I was kind of like, well, that's a little bit of a disconnect. But really what it got me thinking is, okay, but why? Like, is it because he doesn't, I guess there's this so then the expectation though, because he wants to have kids. So the expectation for men is that you are going to have to work. You're going to have my kids. You're going to have to clean the house. So I think when a guy says that, he's thinking about fairness. Like there's some kind of like, but he's not popping out kids.
I know, but I'm saying that I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that's what they're thinking about. It's like, it's not fair that I have to work and she doesn't. I hear you on the economic, but the economic impact having on this problem certainly is part of it. But that's really for older folks. I mean, I'm thinking about like kids, like
little kids,
like a 13-year-old today, or a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old, and it's 100%, not 100%. Vast majority of the problem is social media and dating apps
and video games.
I think video games is the pacifier for what social media and dating apps cause. Yeah. Right. So it's I'll say that too though. I think the focus, the availability of video games as a pastime is a major problem for young men. Yeah. I think it leads to just not being productive. But that's, I think, a result of the school system. And I think it's a result of parents that don't allow boys to be boys, like have them go outside, play sports, encourage them to do that. But I don't think they want to. If they didn't have an option to get on the internet and they didn't have an option to go play video games, they're going to go outside. That was me. Yeah. I didn't have an option. I think my option was outside and from dusk till dawn in the summer, and me and my friends would figure it out. Yeah. Like we'd play football one day, we'd, roam the neighborhood, we'd build forts, we'd swim in lakes, all that stuff. And it was a lot of male bonding was going on through that. And you learn how to interact with other males. You learn how to deal with conflict, especially at a young age. You can deal with conflict in a violent way where you're not really going to hurt each other. Yeah. So that's not happening because young boys aren't spending time with each other. Yeah. Because they're isolated because of the internet. Yeah. Basically, the internet and video games. Yeah. I mean, I struggle to talk about parenting styles because I'm not a parent, so I don't know what the answer is. Like, how hard is it to tell a young boy, like, you're not allowed to play video games when all of his friends play video games? Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it would have to be society deciding that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think, but then again, like the 13-year-olds, they're not on dating apps either. So what's like the root cause? They're on social media. Social media is the root cause. It's just like in the show where, I don't know whether this 80-20 rule is real or not. Yeah. But the idea, and it's in the show, and Scott Galloway talks about it a lot, is that 80% of women are only interested in 20% of men. Yeah. And even when the woman on the podcast who works at a dating app, she even talked about how women, which I never even thought about. This is so interesting. I never even thought about it. Yeah. How women default, I guess you can pick what you're interested in by the height
of the
guy.
Yeah.
And that women by default pick 6 feet tall.
And only, I think she said 9% of men in the world are over 6 feet.
I think 14%.
Or 14. It was really low.
Only
number.
14% of men are over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, in the world are over 6 feet.
So they're automatically excluding. They will never see a guy. They will never see 86% of the guys that are on the dating app.
Yeah. And look, I realize that there is a bit of irony in me talking about this because you are so much older than me. And I will say that I have always been someone who I definitely, I am attracted to very smart guys. I am attracted to driven guys. And when I was thinking about, when I was running this morning, listening to the podcast, I did feel kind of bad because I'm like, well, I've never been openly mean to any guys about not wanting to date them, but I certainly didn't give a lot of guys a chance because I did not see a path forward with them. I didn't see a vision for the future with them.
Yeah.
And when I met you, it was such a clear vision of I can see that path, and all of my goals and all of your goals align to the same path. And so that's, to me, why it made sense and why why we're attracted to each other. But I do realize that there's people probably rolling their eyes because they're like, oh yeah, well, Chad's older than you.
I didn't think about that.
But no, I'm a self-aware person.
Okay.
But let me clarify. So then I started thinking well, why? What was it me? I always dated older guys. And it really was that if a guy had a plan, they didn't have to be successful, but they had to have some sort of plan. I needed to understand, are you going to, I'll just use law school as an example. I don't think that a lot of people should probably go to law school nowadays because your job's going to be obsolete soon. But if there was a plan forward, then that was good for me. It was the young guys I met that had no plan, and it was just maybe I'll do the, and there was just no drive. And that tended to be a lot of guys my own age that I just didn't see the drive. So I think there's a lot of women that they have that same vision, they want a guy with a plan. And I think the problem though now is more women want these guys with the plans.
Yeah. And
more guys don't have a plan.
More guys don't have a plan because of all these other influences. Again, I think it goes back to the very early days of schooling, to a lack of focus on sports, athletics, to the internet, to video games. And then they just waste so much time.
Yeah.
And if you're wasting time doing those things, you're not going to be successful in the long run because time is all we got.
Well, and Scott Galloway was saying when he coaches young men, the first thing he does is he says, let me see your phone. Let's look at what you're spending all your time doing on your phone. Yeah. And he pulls up the activity or the, what's it called?
The screen time.
Yeah, the screen time.
Yeah.
And he says, let's look at what you're spending all of your time.
Yeah.
And he's like, most of the time there's about 15 to 20 hours a week on social media or the internet or other apps that we should not talk about on the podcast.
Yeah. We don't get flagged.
And so he starts saying, okay, let's just take half of that and let's take that time and let's fill that with investing a little bit of your money in the stock market. Go out and research stocks and understand and don't take massive amounts of your money or anything like that. He's or it'll be, investing it in going out and playing a sport or joining a men's club. He's like, we find other things to invest time or money into.
Yeah.
That's not social media. And he's like, and then I literally check back on their activity logs to see if they've started cutting down.
That's awesome.
He's like, because if they don't cut down on all those things, you only, to your point, what you just said, you only have so much time.
Yep. It's what I tell young, and I try to mentor young guys as much time as I can, and I have done that over the years. Especially, I like doing that with kids in college, guys in college, and that's one thing I talk about is that all of your free time should be dedicated, especially at that age, especially at early 20s, should be dedicated to making yourself better.
Yeah.
It should be about making yourself better physically, but also making yourself better mentally. And that a lot of that includes working hard.
Yeah.
And my early 20s, all I did was worked and worked out.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically still what we do.
Good point. I haven't changed that much. But Well, no, I mean, we have, I mean, we talk about this, like we take time, and we've done, I think, a better job in the last 6 months of taking time to relax and do things like on the weekend.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, my whole 20s, every weekend I worked. Every single Saturday, every single Sunday. I don't see that from young guys. And I hate to sound like an old guy. But I'd also, as you're self-aware, I try to be self-aware too, is that I have a unique perspective because I didn't get married till I was 40 years old.
Yeah.
So I was never in a quote unquote old dad life. I have never been in an old dad life kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always lived in the city for my adult life. And so I think, and I also am in this weird situation where I work out with young guys, 20-year-olds all the time. So I get a lot of exposure to them. And the guys that are riding with us and training with us, that's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do think that a lot of them waste their time on video games. But it's the other guys that you meet that you're just like, wow, what do they do with all their time?
Yeah.
What do they do with all their time?
Yeah.
And if they're not thinking about that, then yeah, you are going to get left behind. Okay, well, there goes us being light and fluffy on our one-on-one. Anything else on your end?
I did, what was I listening to the other day? Maybe it was another podcast, or I think maybe it was another podcast, but kind of going off of this, like, let's say from the non-productive side of things, because I do think people, and I think it's social media too, because I find myself struggling with this, like not a lot, but sometimes, and I'll catch myself. I think productivity, I think all of our views of what it takes to be successful has been skewed because we see so many quote unquote overnight success stories on social media. So you have like the Alex Earls that just all of a sudden like they become famous, and the influencers that they had no followers and all of a sudden they have a thriving business now. Or you see, but you have to realize that's like the 0.00001% still.
Yeah.
But because it's all your algorithm feeds you, you start to feel like, I have no way to, like, why am I not successful? Like, I'm working hard, I'm working at long hours. Like, what am I doing wrong? And I think a lot of young people probably feel that way too. And maybe even young men feel like it's a hopeless path to success, because if this person is just an overnight success and the guy, all he does is dip his face in Aquafina in the morning, whatever it was. Saratoga in the morning, like, I'm doing all this stuff and nothing's leading me to success at all. I don't have any millions of followers and I'm not dipping my face in Saratoga.
Keep dipping my face?
Yeah.
And filming it and nothing happens.
Yeah. But my point to saying that is, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about how everyone has visions now for themselves, but because of like vision boards being a thing, like everyone's like, oh my God. And I think this is definitely more of a female thing than a male thing, but like vision boards of the year and manifesting, and like, I'm going to manifest what I want for the year, which I think setting intentions and manifesting is very important. But what the psychiatrist was saying on the podcast is she was like, but you have to have an action board too.
Yeah.
So many people have vision boards and they have no action boards that lead them to the vision. And that got me thinking about...
So many people in corporate America have vision boards and no action boards.
Yeah. And well, I think we all fall prey to that. I think we all are influenced by, we see other people and how fast they got something, even though it's typically not true. No one ever records what it took to get to the success. They never record the crappy moments, the moments where they're sad, the moments where they're crying, the moments where they're angry, the moments where they can almost not pay rent. They only record the moments that are glamorous. Or they go back and talk about the days where I couldn't pay rent. But at that point, they're already successful, so it doesn't matter. I was going to take it as a task for myself to create a vision board, but underneath the vision, create my action board. So all the actions that I need to do to lead to that vision, and that could be over the course of days, weeks, months, years, but always reminding myself, like, so many actions have to happen for that vision to come true, and it has to be more than just manifesting. Yeah.
I mean, we do that in work every day. I mean, that's what the whiteboard is, and like, there's all these things, there's all these initiatives and outcomes that we want to achieve. You know, there's nothing I love more than right now, what are all the different things that we have to do to get there? And so like, it's like mapping that out is what you're saying is important for your personal life as much as it is for your professional life.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Do you want to mention or talk about, as we close up here, speaking of working lots of hours, your other job as a professional artist? Pastel artist?
I mean, it's not that interesting.
I mean, you're making a lot of art.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been fun. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll post my little art doodles.
Pastels, too.
Pastels, yeah. Yeah, oil pastel.
I didn't realize what pastels were, to be honest with you. I didn't know they were like crayons.
Yeah, they're basically adult crayons.
Yeah.
I think they're fun. I mean...
And so like lily pads and like all those are all...
Well, that's Monet, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Monet. Were those pastels?
Yes, they all do mixture. They do oil pastels, and they do... A lot of like fine artists will only use oil paints.
Yeah.
So a lot of those painters also just did oil paints. So I don't know if the lily pads was oil paints, or I don't think it... I'm not sure if it was oil. I think it was oil
so
paints.
Big. Yeah.
But Monet did also use oil pastels a lot.
Okay.
It's just harder, like for large scale things, to use oil pastels because they're really expensive for the amount you get, and so you wouldn't really be able to necessarily fill like an entire triptych, like the Monet lily pads triptych. That would have to probably be oil paints.
Huh.
It would be ridiculous amount of oil pastels to do that. So, anyways, it's interesting. But I think it's fun because it's a little bit less messy than oil paints.
Yeah.
However, I did, so Soilmate, the artist who we bought one of her paintings at Cat Eye Creative, who, by the way, if anyone wants a really cool art gallery to go to, so Cat Eye Creative is downtown, but he's also opening up a second location in Decatur. Their grand opening is this Friday from 11 to 8 p.m. Stop by and check out his studio. You can find him on Instagram. It's just at Cat Eye Creative. And he has a lot of really great local artists. But anyways, so she actually teaches, she'll do like private lessons. So I was like, maybe I should take, because I love her art. I was like, maybe I should pay her.
The art that we have from her?
Oils? Yeah.
How is it like not wet?
Because, oil pastels dry. I mean, sorry, oil paints dry.
Okay.
Oil pastels don't quite ever dry.
Yeah.
You can varnish them. You have to varnish all of it for it to last. You can varnish oil pastels, but it takes 6 to 12 months to actually dry.
So is it varnished? Is that what it is?
Hers is oil paint, so it does dry.
It's oil paint, okay.
She does have a varnish over it. If you look, there's like a clear varnish over it. And hers is on like a wood. She paints it on like a wood background, so it's not on canvas.
Yeah.
But anyways, she offers private lessons, so I was like, maybe I'll...
Oh, small world.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants any art, Nikki's currently at the phase where she's giving away her art before she starts charging a lot for it. So we have a lot of art in the house that is readily available to her friends. Okay.
It's all very
Next
interesting.
career for Nikki is coming up.
Yeah. I mean, you can have a career at anything you want.
Yeah.
Except being a doctor. I probably wouldn't be great at that.
It's probably too late for that.
It's a little late for that one.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. For those of you that are just joining us from last week's episode, we didn't even talk about last week's episode and the great feedback we got.
Amazing feedback.
Around Brendan Quirk, CEO of USA Cycling. This is not a cycling podcast exclusively. You've just heard that.
Yeah.
It's a culture podcast, but we do talk about bikes a lot. So stick around. The next guest will not. We've already recorded the next guest.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of bike talk in there. But we will be talking a lot more bike stuff in the near future because we've got Speed Studio and it will be participating in various criteriums, including the biggest criteriums in America in the next few weeks. So stay tuned.
And it's classic season, so we're watching a lot of professional bike races too.
Classic seasons. This weekend, Sunday is our favorite race, Tour of Flanders. Shout out to all of our friends in Belgium who miss us. I know it's been a couple of years since we've been there, especially Yuri from Johan. So if you're in Belgium and you want to go by the best bike shop in Belgium, you want to go to Kluisbergen and visit Yuri at Johan, Jowan. And we'll be watching that Sunday morning.
And if you want to have all the races put on your calendar so that you don't forget when they're happening, and when we say races, like the classics races, and also I guess because they're streaming a lot of the local races too.
Yeah.
Sign up for our newsletter at speed-studio.com. Because Michael is going and he's actually sending out calendar invites for all the major races coming up and where you can find them. So that way you don't have to text us at 6 o'clock in the morning asking how to watch race in Belgium.
Great idea by Michael. So you will get all of those pre-populated on your calendar with the link to the live stream.
But you have to sign up for our newsletter on Substack.
Yep. So speed-studio.com or thecultureedit.com.
Yep.
Not cultureedit.com. That's a much different site.
When did that happen? Because I accidentally typed that in the other day. Do not go to that website.
No, do not go. You got to hit the THE cultureedit.com.
Yeah.
Nicheculture.com also. Follow Speed Studio and Niche Culture on the Instagram. This is Chad and Nikki Strickland. Thank you for listening.
Like, subscribe, share.
Yes, we definitely need to start doing that at the beginning, like Diary of a CEO does. Please like, subscribe, share. It helps us out a lot, especially getting interesting guests and to keep providing this podcast for free.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Now and then I think of when we were together. Like when you said you felt so happy you could die. I told myself that you were right for me, but felt so lonely in your company. But that was love and it's an ache I still remember.